back with NCSY Pulse, brought to you by NCSY Alumni, and I am joined by, I think, third-year Judah Fellow, Leah Kozakevich. Leah, welcome to the show. It is so awesome to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's our pleasure. Leah joined the Judah Fellowship 2 years ago, just beginning her third year at the University of Florida. And if I can just say, the first time we sort of met, when I interviewed you, I was blown away. Leah is so exciting and fun and engaging. And then I took a chance and we asked her to give a Dvar Torah on the Judah Fellowship Training Shabbaton, and the whole Shabbaton was just blown away by your ability and your charisma. And we're just so excited to have you here today. So Leah, how are things? You just started school. How are things on campus?
Well, thank you, John. You said so many nice things. It means the world to me. And I mean, you pushed me out of that comfort zone to do that Dvar Torah. So I appreciate you for that. That turned me up a little.
Listen, it was awesome. It was our pleasure. And we're happy to have you. We're happy that we were able to connect to you. But let's take a little bit of a rewind here. Tell us a little bit about your time when you were in NCSY. How did you get involved? Who got you involved? Give us some of your secret origin here.
Yeah, so wow, it was quite a while ago now, so I really have to think back. But I think I discovered NCSY. My mom had a patient who was Jewish, and her daughter had been contacted by our regional director, and she was interested because they told her about TJJ, the Israel trip. And this patient told my mom about it, and she gave my mom's contact to the director, which at the time was Devorah Simon, Silicon Valley director.
We're a big fan of Devorah Simon here.
Oh yeah. She started it all for me, and she reached out to my mom, and they were talking, and it was like 2 months before the first TJJ trip. Like signups were closed, like it was really, really late, and she was like, "We want to send Leah. Like, let's go to Israel, TJJ. It'll be so awesome." My mom's like, "Okay." Finances, help us out, like, is that possible? I don't know. Devorah helped me so much, literally sent me to TJJ. I had never done anything with NCSY before, and that was my first exposure. And obviously, if your first exposure is a month in Israel with NCSY, I think it gets you pretty hooked.
Wow, that's outstanding. We hear it so often that TJJ is the first experience at NCSY, which I'm really blown away by that young people are ready to jump in for a full month. Right. Who was your staff on that trip, on that TJJ bus?
I had Rabbi Duvi Jacoby, I think.
Oh, love Duvi Jacoby.
Yeah, from Portland, Oregon. It was great. We even had students from Britain actually join because they were supposed to do another program. So we got lucky. On the 4th of July, ironically, the Brits joined the Americans on our bus because they had a very small amount, so they joined us. Don't know how that worked out, but it was incredible.
Was there any trash talking? Like on the 4th of July, all the Brits came?
Oh yeah, we had the little rivalry. We love America, they love Britain. Okay,
but you all came together for Israel.
Yes, exactly.
Okay,
it was beautiful. All good vibes. We loved their accents, they loved ours.
So now it's your first experience. You do TJJ, you spend a month with a whole bunch of people you've never met before in Israel, including the Brits, and then you come back. What was sort of re-entering the NCSY world like for you, where your first experience was TJJ? It was like this really kind of mind-blowing thing, and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for a month. Yeah. Tell us about transitioning into NCSY back in Northern California.
Right. Well, it was definitely very strange because, we were keeping Shabbat there. I think I had my first ever religious Shabbat in Israel, so that was incredible. And coming back, it was kind of weird to, balance what life would be like. I was on such a spiritual high, and then I'm kind of back to the same old that it had always been before. But thank God, Devorah Simon, she really made the NCSY in the area very nice, very homey. She would still invite us over for Shabbat, so I could still go and have that something to hold on to. We did L&Ls, which I really liked because after TJJ, of course, I had so many questions, so I really wanted to learn more. And L&Ls helped with that. We also had the JSU at our school, so of course it was very different. Of course, it's not the same, but it was still something to hold on to and still really unique and special to have, especially in the place that I had grown up all this time and didn't know that was even there. If
you were to say there was one NCSY staff member who made a huge difference and a huge impact on your life, you would say it's Devorah Simon?
I would say it's Devorah Simon, but I also have to say one more person. After Devorah Simon left for a different position in NCSY, we got a new director, Leah Dagan, and she's been incredible, because she's been with me for like the my last 2 years of high school, and that those were really foundational years. You're going through a lot, you're discovering yourself even more so, and she really provided me with a lot of guidance and a lot more knowledge. So I have to give it both to both of them equally.
Yeah, Tsila's great. Devorah's great. We're definitely not saying one over the other, although we could, but we're not. I'm a big fan of both, and I've spoken to both of them about you, and they are your biggest fans. So that's great to hear. Okay, so you go to TJJ, you come back. Obviously, Devorah's there, Tsila's there. Is there something that you think that maybe you picked up in terms of your Jewish growth, that you got it from Devorah, or you got it from Tzila, or you got it just from the overall atmosphere at NCSY? Some sort of Jewish growth that has kind of stuck with you to today?
Yeah, I think definitely a lot of like the foundational understanding of, why we do this, why it's so special, and definitely having like those female mentors, I think provided me with a lot of like the feminine understanding to Judaism and like the feminine perspective, which I think, is really important for every young girl to have. Don't get me wrong, I've learned a lot of amazing things from exceptional rabbis, but obviously, there's a certain element of that like personable, connection that you can have with like a Rebbitzin, and I think they provided me with a lot of that guidance and like more understanding in those terms.
As a father of 4 girls myself, I totally recognize that. I think I'd like to say even without that, without having 4 daughters, I would recognize it. But absolutely, it's something to be proud of. And you got, I think, very fortunate to have 2 of the best. So now you're on campus and you're at University of Florida. And I know that last year was probably not the year that anybody expected on campus. Tell us about your experience, your Jewish experience at University of Florida. Maybe start off with how it began, and then give us sort of some insight on last year after October 7th.
Yeah, for sure. So going in, I had my NCSY foundations, but I wasn't observant yet, but I was obviously interested, and I knew that going into college that I, wanted to find the Jewish community that, was very small back home. And I, had only just started to kind of figure it out. And then suddenly I'm going to college, right? So I'm like, okay, I know going to college, I want to be involved. And thank God, University of Florida has a lot of Jews. So I went and like straight away went to like all the Jewish organizations on campus, tried all of them out, started like joining classes, learning as much as I can, just because I was really interested in, just being super involved in all the Jewish organizations that I could. And then last summer I went on a program to Israel. That after that I came back and became fully observant.
Oh, wow.
So
What program was that?
it was Ascend through OUJLIC. It's like a modern Orthodox program that is half internship, half learning. And for some reason, for some reason, it was an NCSY call. It was our Judah Fellowship NCSY call that a woman, a representative, came on to the call and advertised it. And I already had summer plans. I was already planning to study abroad with my university, and I canceled it
I
because
didn't even know that. I had no idea about this part of the story.
I forgot this part. Like, not forgot, but I don't, I guess I never focused on that aspect as much, except for when I really think back. And yeah, it was NCSY. So thank you, John, because you brought the speaker and she advertised the program. And I literally dropped everything and was like, I need to go to that. And after that, clearly Israel has an effect on me because I came back and was religious and keeping, as much as I could. Even though there's a lot of Jews here, it is still quite hard. It's Gainesville, Florida. It's the middle of nowhere. There's not so much religious infrastructure, but I never really looked back. And then a few months in, October 7th, it was insanity. We don't need to get into it because, of course, everyone knows and still knows what it's like. And, I compared to other places, I cannot complain. University of Florida acted really well, compared to basically
Sure.
everywhere else in the country. Don't get me wrong, there were still protests every week we had to see and listen to. And when the encampment started, we had those too, even though after a few days, University of Florida really cracked down on them and was like, here are the restrictions, you can't do this, this, this. Made it basically very difficult for them to have it, which is great. But it was still there, it was still prominent, it was still a very hostile environment. We were trying to have our Israel events, they were trying to have their things. There was a lot of hostility, a lot of anger, frustration, like pain, I think for everyone. But the campus overall, it was it was okay. It was nothing to
Okay, so it's good. So it sounds like you at least had a fairly positive experience. And even though there was obviously an extremely challenging situation erupting around you, it sounds like UF was a little bit better than some of the other kind of horror stories
yeah.
that we've been having. I want to go back because what you were just saying about Ascend and sort of like kind of bridging from NCSY's Judah Fellowship to OU Ascend, which is also, NCSY is part of the OU. So
Right.
there's definitely kind of like a nice family handoff here. But I'm interested to hear that your experience on Ascend seems like it was really a growth opportunity and that it really prepared you. Do you feel that because you went to Ascend with your career at NCSY and the Judah Fellowship and then going on Ascend, that even in spite of the challenges you've been seeing on campus, do you feel like you were maybe more prepared than the average student on campus because you kind of had this infrastructure in your life?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think this shocked so many Jews, and especially less involved Jews. I think it people are saying like a lot of Jews had to like wake up as like as blunt as that is, and as rude as it sounds. Like it I think showed a lot of Jews the importance of having a community and the connection and even learning and having the knowledge, that to use when you need to stand up for yourself, for your people, because obviously most people don't speak up when they don't know enough. And obviously these Jewish environments, these Jewish organizations provide that knowledge and that confidence in what we're standing up for that I definitely had. And I think especially at being in Israel that past summer, like my connection grew even more, and my knowledge about Israel and I think my religious growth like really, really helped me. And knowing that I have all these amazing Jewish organizations and like this community, really like without it, it would have been a million times worse.
You had this great, growth opportunity at Ascend and NCSY, and you mentioned how you're more observant on campus now. What is it like at University of Florida in terms of kosher food and kosher infrastructure there, or Jewish infrastructure? Is there a lot? Is there not a lot? How do you deal with the challenges there?
Right, great question. Very relevant right now. And a new person just moved here actually. He is with the organization Tikva Fund, if you've heard of it. He's trying to help expand like the Jewish community. He was actually helping Jewish students transfer from places where it was a lot worse on campus, and he's been asking me a lot also about the religious infrastructure. A lot of these students wanted to know what's it like, and realistically, it's not the best. With kosher food, there's no restaurants, there's nothing, nowhere to like go out, but there's the Chabad on campus, and they have little to-go meals, and they have a like dinner, 4 night a week dinner meal plan. But there's always food on Shabbat, for example. Like there's always places to go on Shabbat, so you can always you'll get fed on Shabbat. But the rest of the week is kind of on you. Some people have that meal plan, but again, it's only one meal 4 times a week. You really do have to utilize your cooking abilities. There's
Do
no
you cook?
Yeah, I do cook. I
Okay.
started cooking much more this year. Actually, last year when I became observant, I barely cooked, but I still made it work. I would do easy things but now I have more space, and it's easier for me to cook this year. So I have been doing that, and it's great. I like it. No problem there. But yeah, there's a lot of Jews. I think most amount of Jews in the country, but religious wise, it's quite small.
Right.
And there's not so many religious Jews, but I think it's starting to grow. Like this year, there's quite a few more. So I think, as everything that's happening, I think people are trending more towards thinking about going to a school like University of Florida, where it's a lot more hospitable for Jews.
Got it. So it sounds like you're making the best out of it. And even though it's not necessarily your ideal situation,
Yeah.
you're really making the best out of it, making the most out of it, and taking advantage. Do you have a go-to kosher food that you like to make?
I like to make a turkey chili.
Turkey chili, really? You're gonna have to send me that recipe.
Yeah, with like ground turkey, beans. Yeah, it's really good.
Okay. Okay. I am totally down for that. By the way, separate from this, I should tell you, because I know you're gluten free, I found this recipe and I gave it to my wife, but my wife has been making gluten free challah for my daughter.
I just
It's really good.
Yeah, I just started too this summer.
Okay, so we should swap recipes because this
Yeah.
one's really good and she likes it and like we're happy. I've tasted it and it tastes like challah.
Yeah.
It's like really, it's really
want-
good. You need this certain type of flour. If you can't get it, let me know. I will send it to you because it's really like you can get it here in my neighborhood. It's not such a big deal.
Thank you.
Okay, so we got that you're making the most of Jewish life on campus. We know kosher food's a little bit of a challenge, but you're making the best and you've learned to cook. Is there a Jewish food? We ask this to everybody. This is like the most critical question of the interview. Is there a Jewish food that just absolutely not? You look at it and can't handle it.
I'm not so picky. Like, there's nothing that's so disgusting to me, but I wouldn't particularly choose like gefilte fish, for example. That's probably what everyone says, right?
Gefilte fish is far and away, but like everyone's just like, oh no. Except for Ariel Barron, I think in last episode, he said potato kugel is his he can't do potato kugel. And I was shocked. I'm like, of all the things, he's fine with gefilte fish, but not potato kugel.
I think maybe he had some not great recipes, maybe, because some are, not the best, but some, if you have a good one, you can't not like it. It's just potato.
Yeah. I think it's hard sometimes for some of the Persian Sephardi kids to transition to the Ashki foods.
Yeah.
It doesn't always go so well. Okay, Leah, this has been awesome. Thank you very much for this time. As we wrap up here, Leah, you mentioned Devora and Sila as the two NCSY staff members who really made a big difference. Is there a message that you'd like to express to them or something you'd like to say to them, thanking them maybe for their help?
Yeah, I'd love to. Just want to say thank you for everything you've done. You do incredible work, and I know that sometimes it's very challenging work, but just know that it can make such a huge difference, and it really does, even in small ways, and still some kind of, even if it's just a little bit of Jewish community, a little bit of Jewish knowledge, something in someone's life, even if you think it's not making a difference, I promise in the long run it really can. And it really is incredible work, and I hope that you're proud of yourselves, and I hope that you get the thank yous you deserve, because you do.
Beautiful. Also a big fan of theirs, and that is wonderful of you to say. Last question, Leah. For somebody who's just getting started in their NCSY experience, they're maybe just about to go on their first TJJ trip or going on their first Shabbaton, do you have a bit of advice that you would offer as a seasoned NCSY veteran for them to have the best possible experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's basic, but I think really take advantage of all the opportunities. There's so much that you're doing as a teenager in high school. Like, there's so many things, but your religious connection and your cultural connection, your just the connection to your people is something that you can't compare to, and it might not seem as important at times, but I think this year has shown that it really is. And just take advantage of any opportunity. You never know where it could lead you and what beauty it could bring to your life and what fulfillment it could bring to your life. So just try out as many things as possible, and don't get discouraged if one is not for you, or if it's not exactly perfect or how you envisioned it. There's so many different things that you can do, different ways you can go, and there's really is like a place and a community for everyone. So yeah.
Thank you. That's really good advice. Let me ask you, if you were to translate that now to somebody who's going to campus for the first time, would you say something similar? Like, what would you tell somebody who's just graduating, maybe wrapping up their NCSY career, given your experience on campus?
Yeah, I would really say, like, don't lose that connection you had with NCSY. There's clearly a reason you did it and stuck with it for however long you did.
Leah, thank you very much. All right, this has been Leah Kozakevich from West Coast NCSY, who's at University of Florida, third year Judah Fellow. And Leah, this has been awesome. Thank you so much.